go into callers then and make sure everyone gets to ask at least a couple questions. Our first caller is from Pennsylvania. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Christy. Hi, Tex.
Hi.
I really appreciate your great work. I just, in fact, heard your appearance on Freeman's show, and it was quite illuminating.
Well, good. That's a good word.
I really like the way, actually, you guys chatted back and forth together about the Mason symbols and the grips. I find that very, very interesting. And, in fact, when I drive around town with my wife, I often now point to every billboard that when you enter a town, it shows you who's really controlling the town based on, whether they're a Masonic organization or not. And it's very funny to watch the little symbols that are on the license plates, especially in the front of cars. You'll see that they put the square and the compass and the G and all that sort of thing.
Sure is.
I have several questions, but I wanted to be respectful for other callers, too. I have actually a lot of questions. You said you had some time. Back then you said you had until 9:30. Is that Central Time? Or?
Well, if it's okay with Christy, maybe I can stay on another 10 or 15 minutes here.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have you as long as you'll allow.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you.
Do you know who Alan Watt is?
I sort of do. I'm sorry. Remind me.
No, Alan Watt is kind of like Alex Jones. In fact, he's on Alex Jones' show a lot. I know you're on Alex Jones' show a lot, too.
Yeah.
He has a show on Republic Broadcasting Network. It's called CuttingThroughTheMatrix.com.
Oh, yes, sure. Okay. That website, right.
Do you have an opinion of what he has to say, or?
No, I really don't. I would have to go and look and see what he's saying. Do you have an opinion? I'm curious because you asked me the question.
Yeah, I do. I do have an opinion.
Good at work.
Well, he certainly tells us to be careful of people who all of a sudden drop onto the scene from nowhere and become truthers. And he said to be careful because they'll tell you a lot of truth, but then they'll spin you into la-la land and not tell you who's really responsible for all the evil that happens on this earth. He has a particular angle about New Agers. I wanted to ask you about that, too. What do you think about the New Age movement?
Well, first of all, I have so many friends that are New Agers, and they're very sincere people. They're sort of like folks that believe in global warming. We know that global warming is absolutely a hoax. The four major weather tracking stations, including NASA, actually say that the small era of about 12 years of minor warming have now reversed, and now we're into a global cooling. But they're so sincere, they believe in what they're almost with a religious fervor. So many in the New Age movement, are into all kinds of things, from spirit channeling to pyramid powers, and they do believe in these gods and goddesses from outer space that seeded mankind. So, I don't give them evil intentions, but I do believe they're easily deceived and duped, particularly by the Illuminati elite, who have set up so many New Age organizations.
Mm-hmm. And the Illuminati elite, I've never once heard you mention the word Jesuit or Roman Catholic. Do you think that they're involved in addition to the Jews?
Well, I tell you, I've probably put out more audio tape, CD and video exposés of the Vatican and its secret orders than anybody that I know of in America. For example, you might want to look at my videos. I'm not trying to get anybody to buy anything, but you can just go and look at the description on my website of one called Is the Pope Catholic? Another one, Lumen 2000. There are many secret orders of the Catholic Church. The two primary ones are the Knights of Malta and the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order is basically a communist Marxist order responsible for millions of deaths. You can go all the way back to Paraguay and the horrors they did there, the liberation theology of Marxism that was practiced in Central and South America. And they're responsible in the United States for many, many projects, let's just call it. So let me just tell you what I believe in the last days, what we see here, because I know many people have asked me about the Catholic Jesuits. I believe the Catholic Jesuits work very close with various other Freemasonic orders, including the Grand Lodge of Freemasonry in Jerusalem with Zionists. And you sort of have a coming together of all of the evil factions. So this is what I've seen about the Jesuits, and they've had their hand in a lot of works. Are they the principal evil in the world? Well, they rank up pretty close to the top. But I think really there are more along the lines of the Zionist influence than there are of the Jesuits. But I'm not trying it. How can you whitewash the Jesuit order? One of in my book Mysterious Monuments, I have a fascinating and a very horrible monument in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, that was built by the Knights of Malta. I believe torture and death is going on right there now. It's a huge. They've actually recreated a great Mayan temple with a gigantic laser light that can project up into the sky. So, Pat Robertson, that whole televangelist thing is controlled by the Jesuits and the Knights of Malta. So anyway, I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but I have exposed the Jesuits, and I want to do more in the future.
Have you exposed Peter Hans Kolvenbach, the Black Pope?
Well, I've talked about the Black Pope quite a bit.
But what about Peter Hans Kolvenbach?
Well, he's only been there a few years. Before him, Pedro Arrupe was the one I really, it's sort of like so much evil, so little time. But, he is the current Black Pope, they call him,
Peter Hans Kolvenbach?
I don't know much about him. I'd like to research more about him, but, the other guy, Arrupe, was there for so many years. He supposedly was fired by Pope John Paul II. Now, the scuttlebutt of that I'm not sure, but now they've had this guy here. How long has he been in position?
A lot more than a couple of years. In fact, Peter Hans Kolvenbach was around when 9/11 happened, which is quite interesting to me.
Yeah. I don't think the Jesuits, it's very plain that the Mossad worked very close with the CIA and with rogue elements of the FBI in terms of the 9/11.
And so on 9/11, what version of the story do you go with?
Well, I go with the facts. The facts.
And that is?
Well, there are many facts on the Israeli connection.
Oh, and let me backtrack. You're saying
I can point to two good books. One is by Victor Thorne, and the other by Albert Pastore on the Israeli connection. I have a friend who's written an expose book about Disney, the Disney Studios and others. He lives in Weehawken, New Jersey. A couple of days after 9/11, he sent me all of the daily newspapers out of Weehawken, New Jersey, that talked about urban moving systems. The Israeli Mossad dummy front company.
And the dancing Israelis.
Dancing Israelis on top of the building, filming the whole thing. That absolutely was true. And America is combed with Israeli Mossad agents, no doubt about it.
So this, I know that you're on Alex Jones's show a lot, right?
Oh, periodically,
And I know that whenever someone questions Alex about the fact that the media might have been involved in covering up 9/11, specifically faking the airplane that went into the South Tower, he often calls those people kooks and counter-intel-pro and that sort of thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know what I wouldn't call anybody. If somebody is trying to do good, we can have we can look at facts and we can have different interpretations. I try to there's so many people out there that have pieces. I want to put all the mosaic together. You mentioned the Jesuits. There's some people when you read the Birch Society material, you find that they basically centralized on the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission. Hey, I think those are two very evil groups. Others concentrate on the Bohemian Grove. still others, on other orders. But my belief is that all of these groups at one level or another are working together for evil. And so, I try not to be too hard on people who are trying to do good, even though they may disagree with me on some things.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to give people credit. If a person says, hey, I think, that the plane, one of the planes was faked by, some kind of a laser light or something.
No, they're saying, no.
I'll tell you what I would say to such a person. I would like to know more about that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would recommend watching a movie like September Clues. It goes very much into that.
What is it again?
If you go to YouTube or Google Video, look up September Clues, CLUES. Mm-hmm.
Okay, appreciate that.
I know your time is limited. I have a couple more questions, then I'll let you run.
All right.